Peace, King. How you feeling? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I couldn't hear you before. I was thinking, wait,
All
is this
right, all right,
a silent interview?
all right. How you feeling, man?
No, I'm good. I'm just writing right now, so I'm in a I'm in a writing cave.
That's what's up, man. I ain't gonna hold you. We gonna get right into it. I know you gotta let them creative juices go to work, man. I want to thank you for coming on the platform. This is really an honor.
No, thanks for inviting me.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man. You're doing some major work. For the viewers who may not recognize you, let them know who you are and definitely where you're from.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm Koby Adom. I'm a film and TV writer, director, executive producer. I founded a production company, DBK Studios, that operates out of London and everywhere else, to be honest, globally. But yeah, that's me. I'm a filmmaker when it comes down to it.
That's what's up. That's major, man. That ain't nothing light. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm.
gotta ask you, how do you even get into that? Like, is that something you wanted to do since you was younger, or is that something you kind of got into later in life?
I'd say a bit later. I mean, I'm 33 right now. I'd say that film and TV wasn't really anything available within my reach or sight until later on in life. After I'd sort of gone to university and the options, I guess, kind of open up from there, and then you sort of meet different people or have the opportunity to try different things. So I think it's just me sort of like coming from where I come from. You know, uh, it sounds like a cliche, but obviously not very much expected to do much, if you know what I mean. And also film, especially not that. So I think for me, I started film school around 24. And I'd say my education before that probably started when I was about, I don't know, man. I would say maybe towards the ending of university. So like, I don't know, 20, 2021. So I would say it was a bit later on in my life, and I think since then I've kind of been obsessed with it. So I think I've kind of made up for not being really into it when I was younger, and now throwing myself in, sort of like consuming, making, just being in that ecosystem. It's just something that I found is beautiful. It's by God's grace I've been led to, work in such a space and create.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's dope. You had kind of mentioned writing earlier. I was gonna ask you, for the viewers. You know, we watch a lot of movies and TV shows. Like, what is the difference between being a writer, a director, a producer? Do they kind of overlap, or are they like totally different?
I guess the overlapping factor is storytelling. Everyone's a storyteller, and I think that's not sort of like, I think there's different ways of telling stories, but everyone's main job is to tell a story. So I guess that's what the similarities would be, in terms of what kinds of decisions would be made. But in terms of functionality, what the roles are, they differ because it's what you're doing to tell the story. So like a director is overseeing all the creativity, like all the creative decisions is kind of like coming from a vision from a director, someone who has a vision to influence the creativity, to achieve a specific outcome, whether that's a message or visuals or language. Do you get what I mean? Just the way of communicating to an
Mhm.
audience. So that's what a director does, kind of like sort of uses all tools and stuff and oversees the process of making sure all the creative tools work together to do what I just said. A producer now facilitates that, if you know what I mean. They sort of like facilitate the space for that creativity to take place. So that's the sort of like, you might want to call it the business end, but it's not just business. It's business logistics, is whatever needs to happen in order for the creativity to take place. Whether that's actors, that's cameras, that's whatever. And obviously, from the producer, there's people that work in their department, but they're overseeing that process of making sure that the space is ready for the creativity to be at its best. So that's director, producer. And what's the last one that you asked? I forgot. I forgot. What's the
Uh, Being a writer.
writer? Okay, okay. So I guess as a writer, you're just really just building this world from scratch, aren't you? You're sort of like using your references and you're using your knowledge of the principles of storytelling to essentially put it into a shape where a director can then come and start to make decisions, if you know what I mean. So it's like, I've always said this to people that I mentor, and I've always held myself accountable to. If you're a writer, director, well, that's fine, but those jobs aren't the same thing. Do you get what I mean? Like, once you're a writer, just be the writer and don't try too much to think of directing, in terms of any creative tools that's going to enhance this piece. Just focus on telling the story with words, because that's the writer's job. And then once the writer's done, take off that hat, put on the director's cap, and butcher the script like you didn't write it yourself. You have to be able to, you know, you have to be able to play out those two functions without any bias, in my opinion. Anyway, that's why I always sort of preach. So yeah, a writer is someone who just creates the world, and a director brings it to life, and a producer facilitates so that process can happen.
Man, you broke it down, man. The
Mm.
pieces. I appreciate that. I got a clear understanding, man, for sure.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, man, you got it. Now I can ask you, did you have any like major influences? Like, was it a movie or a TV show that you saw or that sparked you, or an actor, or even a director, or anything like that?
Definitely, I think I always use the same reference every time, but it's Martin Scorsese is the main reason why I started doing this. Goodfellas is a film I've watched, and I can't even count how many times I've watched it. And I guess that film was made the year I was born, if I'm correct. Which is what, 33 years ago, and it's lasted the test of time where people are still resonating with it today. It also was able to authentically capture a time in history. Do you know what I mean? Which we can all sort of take reference from today, and you can sort of compare. You can see the differences. It's just a beautiful thing. So when I watch stuff like Goodfellas, which is, I guess, the American version of, do you get what I'm saying to you? What I'd say I may have been through in life, maybe not as high stakes as that, but I connected to it, and I thought I need to be able to make films like this. It's funny, it's scary sometimes, there's a lot of thriller in it. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's just full of life, and I feel like that's something that I've always wanted to do. So yeah, my main inspiration is someone like Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas, but I've got other directors I look up to, like David Fincher, huge fan of his storytelling. Sam Mendes is another one, huge fan. Steve McQueen, he's just so delicate in the way he sort of like gets his performances from his actors, but also how he composes his shots, and how those two things kind of hold hands. And that's something that I kind of work on a lot when I'm directing some of my work. How does the performance and the visual language merge, as opposed to two different things happening? Because and I think Steve McQueen is a master in doing that. So look up to him. Yeah, man, I think those are my inspirations. But above all, man, I think my biggest inspiration is just Jesus, man. That's that's the standard of my life. I think the Bible, there's so much in there as far as storytelling goes, that's the most pure foremost of storytelling, if you know what I mean. So because I'm in the word, I read that daily. I think it really, really inspires me to get the most out of these stories that I'm writing myself, if you know what I mean. I guess because I'm interpreting things that may have happened and manipulating it, for lack of better wording, to present a wider message, if you know what I mean. So yeah, those are my inspirations.
Yeah, that's deep, man. That's deep. Let
Mm.
me see. I gotta ask you about DBK Studio. What exactly is that, and what made you want to, put that together?
Okay, so DBK Studio stands for Done by the King. So Done by the King is just a production company which I started, actually. Things really kicked off during lockdown when I actually started the company, because I just felt like, as a young black man coming to this industry, I'm not someone who in my previous walks of life haven't been involved in the decision making around a product that I'm creating, if you know what I mean. I guess if I'm selling shoes, I need to be sitting on the table where we decide how much we're going to sell these shoes for, and vice versa. So I thought, for me, yes, I can direct, but I don't want to direct now, and it's not a case of sort of like ego or anything neither. I think it's more responsibility. I think once you create a product, especially if it's culturally specific, that comes with responsibility, if you know what I mean, on how to deal with it. You can't just deal with it in a general sense. The target market needs to be considered. The way is branded needs to be considered. Every decision is important. So I created DBK Studios to be able to start creating stories, but being involved in that as well. Do you know what I mean? So that the a lot more authenticity in these stories that need to be told from my culture, and other cultures really have a hub, which DBK is, to protect their voice. Do you get what I mean? To protect their presentation, to protect to protect their lived experience that they bring into the table. So that's what DBK is, and that's to produce work from myself and other filmmakers. It's not just me, but I just felt like, what, building that system from now makes sense to me, because I'm gonna grow with the company, and yeah, I'm that's gonna be something that you're gonna hear about more and more. Like, it's something that is in the works. There's a lot of things happening in the background. We've already done a project with Sky in the UK, who gave us some money to produce some short films from black talent, first and second time filmmakers. And all of them right now have gone on to do some massive things in TV, second unit directing, commissioned TV pilots, and they're just in. And these are people that weren't in before, if you know what I mean. So the production company kicked off that way, and now is going to grow on to bigger and better, in terms of continuing to find those voices that are underrepresented from the ground up. We can go to jail sometimes and get some stories. No one else is doing that to get IP. We can go down to a certain level that nobody else can, and protect those stories all the way to the top and get them on screen. Do you get what I mean? And get those voices told. So that's what DBK is, man. It's just a machine that does what happens elsewhere, but for our people. But not only for our people, it's just to make sure that we have taken responsibility for our people. But we just make films, man. Films, TV shows, you name it. And globally as well, we're gonna make stuff UK, US, Ghana, Nigeria, you
Uh,
name it. We're going for it. We're just telling those stories no one's heard before, and just going to those places no one's going to get the stories in order to do so. And I guess that's the best way to create value in what we do.
that's dope, man. And you taking it globally, especially
You
to the motherland. That's
Come on, bro.
phenomenal.
You have to, man. Look at this behind me, man. That's the continent right there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
big
what's
deal.
up.